There's something you need to hear right now, even if no one has had the courage to tell you. When someone doesn't want you, the heart senses it before the mind accepts it. And the more you insist, the more tired your soul becomes. Today I need you to stop for a moment and listen calmly, because this message didn't reach you by chance. Perhaps you're holding on to a story that ended a long time ago. You revisit old conversations, remember promises, try to find some sign that something is still there. But deep down, there's a silence that speaks louder than any words. You keep trying to understand what happened. Where did everything change? At what point did that person who seemed so present begin to slowly drift away? And the more you think about it, the more questions arise. But there's something almost no one realizes when they're living through this situation. Sometimes the problem isn't what you did or didn't do. Sometimes the other person simply doesn't have the same heart as you. But pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you will bring you a sense of alert to the urgent message coming from heaven for your life. And I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel to attract blessings from the God voice for your life. And share this content with other people who need to hear this revelation from heaven. You feel it deeply. When you like someone, you truly give yourself. You care, you listen, you worry, you try to make things work. And for a long time you believed that if you gave a little more of yourself, maybe everything could change. But there's an important detail you need to understand. Love doesn't grow when only one side fights. True love doesn't need to be convinced to exist. While you try to hold on to this story, something inside you starts to quiet down. That joy that was once natural diminishes. That lightness begins to disappear. You start to notice small signs that you previously ignored. Messages that take longer to arrive. Short replies. Conversations that no longer have the same interest as before. And even so, you keep waiting. Maybe because your heart still believes in that version of the person you knew at the beginning. But there's a difference between who someone once was and who that person chooses to be now. And often, accepting that difference is one of the hardest things. You try to remember the good times to justify the bad ones. You try to tell yourself it's just a phase, that everything can go back to the way it was before. But while you cling to the past, the present continues to show you another reality. A reality where you're working much harder than you should. And that starts to create a weight in your chest. A kind of silent sadness that appears when you realize you're walking alone in something that should be built by two. Perhaps no one has told you this so clearly before, but insisting where you're not chosen only prolongs a pain that could begin to heal. There's a part of you that has already realized this. That small voice inside your heart that sometimes whispers that something isn't right. But I know you're afraid too. Afraid to let go and then miss it. Afraid to let go and wonder if you should have tried a little harder. But there's something curious about life that few people understand. Often, what seems like a loss at first is exactly the space that something better needed to arrive. When you stop chasing someone who doesn't choose you, something inside you begins to change. You start to remember who you were before all this emotional turmoil. Gradually, you begin to realize that your worth never depended on someone else's decision. Your worth has always been within you, even when you doubted it. And as this awareness grows, a very important question begins to appear in your mind. What would happen to your life if, for the first time, you chose yourself before choosing someone who was never sure about you? Because something changes the moment you begin to ask that question. Not about them, but about you. What would your life look like if you stopped chasing someone who keeps walking away? What would happen if all that love you keep giving out finally came back to you? For a long time you believed that holding on was a sign of strength, that proving your loyalty would make them see your heart. But real strength is quieter than that. Sometimes real strength is simply opening your hands and letting what wants to leave go. You might not notice it immediately, but the moment you stop forcing something, your heart begins to breathe again. The tight feeling in your chest slowly loosens. The constant wondering starts to fade little by little. Think about how much energy you have spent trying to understand someone who refuses to understand you. All those nights thinking, replaying conversations, searching for hidden meanings in simple words. And yet the answer was often right in front of you. When someone truly values you, their actions are clear. You don't need to decode them like a puzzle. Love that is meant for you does not make you feel small. It does not make you question your worth. It does not leave you guessing where you stand. Instead, it feels calm, honest, like sunlight gently entering a room that has been dark for too long. But when you stay attached to someone who does not choose you, you block that light from entering. You keep the door closed without realizing it. I know part of you still hopes that one day they will suddenly understand what they lost, that they will come back different, finally seeing the value you always had. Sometimes that happens, but many times, life moves differently. Sometimes people leave so you can finally see the path you were meant to walk. And when that realization begins to grow inside you, something beautiful starts to awaken. Your confidence slowly returns. Your peace begins to rebuild. You remember things about yourself that were forgotten during the struggle to keep someone who was already halfway gone. You remember how strong your heart really is. Not because it can endure endless disappointment, but because it can heal and move forward. And the surprising part is this: the moment you stop insisting, the moment you truly release what is not meant for you, the world begins to shift in quiet ways. New opportunities appear. New connections enter your life. Conversations start to feel lighter again. It is almost as if life was waiting for you to take that step before opening the next door. And one day, without warning, you may meet someone who treats your presence as something precious instead of something optional. Someone who listens when you speak. Someone who shows up when they say they will. Someone who does not make you question whether you matter. When that day comes, you will understand something very important. All the moments when you felt rejected were not proof that you were unlovable. They were simply signs guiding you away from places where your heart was never meant to stay. And when you finally see that truth clearly, something gentle begins to happen inside you. The sadness that once felt heavy slowly becomes lighter. Not because the memories disappear, but because they no longer control your heart. You begin to understand that not every person who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people arrive only to teach you what love should never feel like. At first that lesson hurts, feels unfair. You wonder why you had to experience it at all. But time has a quiet way of revealing the meaning behind moments that once confused you. Little by little, you start noticing how peaceful life feels when you are no longer chasing someone's attention. Your days feel calmer. Your thoughts become clearer. You wake up and realize you no longer check your phone hoping for a message that may never come. That space in your mind slowly fills with other things, dreams, plans, and parts of yourself you had forgotten. And this is something very important for you to remember: the right person will never require you to shrink yourself just to keep them close. You will not need to compete for their attention. You will not need to constantly prove that you are worthy of being loved. Instead, their presence will feel natural. Like two people walking side by side instead of one person always running after the other. Until that moment arrives, your task is simple. Take care of your own heart. Protect your peace. Learn to recognize when something feels wrong instead of ignoring it. Because your heart is not meant to be a place where people come and go without care. Your heart is a home, and only those who respect it should be allowed inside. And the more you honor yourself in this way, the more your life begins to change in ways you may not expect. Your confidence grows stronger. Your smile becomes more genuine. You begin to feel comfortable being exactly who you are. One day you will look back at this chapter and realize that letting go was not the end of your story. It was the moment your real journey quietly began. And when someone new eventually enters your life, you will see the difference immediately. There will be no confusion, no endless guessing, no constant emotional storms. There will simply be respect, care, and a quiet certainty that you are valued. But before that chapter can fully unfold, there is one final truth you must understand. Sometimes the greatest act of love you can offer your own heart is having the courage to walk away from someone who never truly chose to stay. And when you begin to walk away, it may feel strange at first. Your heart was used to waiting, hoping, checking for signs. Now there is silence where there used to be expectation. But that silence is not emptiness. It is space for your life to breathe again. At the beginning, your mind may try to pull you back. Memories will appear suddenly. A song, a place, a small detail that reminds you of what once existed. And for a moment, you may wonder if you made the right choice. But pay attention to what happens next. After that memory passes, a small calm returns. A quiet feeling that tells you that your heart is slowly finding its balance again. Healing does not happen in one big moment. It happens in small steps that almost go unnoticed. One day you laugh without thinking about them. Another day you realize hours have passed without remembering the pain. And these small changes matter more than you think. They are signs that your heart is learning something new, that life continues even after disappointment. You start doing things for yourself again. You reconnect with the parts of your life that once brought you joy. Maybe it is a hobby, a walk outside, a conversation with someone who truly listens. And with every small step forward, your heart becomes stronger in a different way. Not hardened, but wiser. You begin to recognize the difference between attention and real care, between empty promises and true presence. Before, you may have accepted very little because you were afraid of losing someone. Now you begin to understand that losing the wrong person often protects you from losing yourself. That realization changes the way you see relationships. You stop chasing affection. You start observing actions. Because when someone genuinely wants to be part of your life, their effort will be clear. You will not need to guess. You will not need to beg for consistency. And something beautiful happens when you reach this stage. The love you once tried to force outward begins to return inward. You become kinder to yourself, more patient with your own emotions. You allow yourself to grow without rushing the process. The truth is, your heart was never weak for loving deeply. Your heart simply needed to learn where that love truly belongs. And as you continue walking forward, a new kind of peace begins to settle inside you. The kind that does not depend on someone else's decision to stay. Because now you are starting to understand something powerful. Your life was never meant to revolve around someone who could walk away so easily. Your life is meant to expand, to grow, to connect with people who recognize your value without hesitation. And as that understanding becomes clearer and clearer, another realization slowly begins to form inside you. The person you were trying so hard to keep may never have been the one who was meant to walk beside you through the next chapters of your life. And once that thought begins to settle inside your heart, many things start to make sense. Moments that once confused you slowly reveal their meaning. The distance, the silence, the lack of effort. They were all quiet answers you didn't want to see before. It wasn't that you didn't try enough. It wasn't that you didn't care enough. The truth is you cared deeply. But caring deeply cannot force someone to value what they have. There is something important you are starting to understand now. Love should never feel like a constant battle for attention. It should feel like two people protecting the same bond together. When you were the only one trying to keep everything alive, the weight became too heavy for your heart. And even though you kept going for a long time, a part of you was already growing tired. Now that you are stepping away from that struggle, your heart is slowly discovering something new, peace without pressure. You begin to notice how calm life can feel when you are not waiting for someone to choose you. Your days start to belong to you again. Instead of wondering what someone else is thinking, you begin asking yourself new questions. What makes you happy? What kind of life do you truly want to build? These questions open doors inside you that were closed for a long time. Dreams that were once quiet start speaking again. You remember that your story is bigger than one relationship. Your future is larger than one chapter that didn't work out. And the most surprising part is that the more you focus on rebuilding yourself, the less power the past has over your emotions. The memories may still exist, but they no longer carry the same weight. They become lessons instead of wounds. Through this process, you are also learning how to recognize the kind of love you truly deserve. You deserve someone who is proud to stand beside you, not someone who hesitates to stay. Someone who brings clarity, not confusion. Someone who sees your heart and treats it like something precious, not something replaceable. And the moment you truly believe that about yourself, something very important shifts in the way you move through life. You stop settling for half-hearted effort. You stop chasing people who only appear when it is convenient for them. Instead, you begin to move with quiet confidence, trusting that the right connections will meet you along the way. Because when a person truly values you, their presence will feel steady. Their actions will match their words. And when that kind of connection enters your life one day, you will notice something immediately. You will not feel the need to fight for your place in their world, because they will already be choosing you without hesitation. And when you experience that kind of presence, you will feel the difference immediately. Your heart will not be racing with anxiety, wondering if they will disappear tomorrow. Instead, there will be a quiet comfort, like finally putting down something heavy you carried for too long. You will notice how simple things become. Conversations will flow without effort. Plans will not feel uncertain. You will not need to search for hidden meanings behind every word. This is how real care looks. It does not confuse you. It does not leave you guessing where you stand. But before that kind of connection becomes part of your life, there is an important season you are walking through right now. A season where you learn to stand firmly on your own. In this season, you rediscover your strength. Not the kind of strength that keeps you stuck in pain, but the kind that helps you move forward with dignity. You begin to see how valuable your time and your energy truly are. You realize that not everyone deserves access to your heart. This understanding does not make you cold. It makes you wise. It teaches you to recognize when someone's intentions are sincere and when they are not. And as this wisdom grows, your standards naturally rise. You stop accepting behavior that once made you feel small. You start paying attention to consistency, kindness, and respect. The things that truly matter in a relationship. It may take time before someone new enters your life, and that is perfectly okay. Being alone for a while is not a punishment. In fact, this quiet space is where many beautiful things begin. It is where your confidence rebuilds, where your dreams gain shape again. During this time, you may notice how much lighter your life feels without constant emotional confusion. The tension that once lived in your chest slowly fades. Your thoughts become clearer, calmer. You begin to enjoy moments again, a peaceful walk, a good conversation, the simple feeling of being present in your own life. And with each passing day, your heart becomes more open to what is truly meant for you. Because the truth is, the love that belongs in your life will never require you to lose yourself just to keep it. It will not demand endless patience for behavior that hurts you. Instead, it will meet you where you are with honesty and care. And when that kind of love finally arrives, you will realize something surprising. Letting go of the person who didn't choose you was not the loss you feared. It was the beginning of a life where your heart is finally valued the way it always should have been. And when you finally reach that understanding, a quiet clarity settles inside your heart. You stop asking why someone could walk away so easily. Instead, you begin to see that their leaving revealed something important about the path you were on. Sometimes people leave because they were only meant to walk beside you for a short part of the journey. Not to stay forever, but to show you something about yourself that you needed to discover. At first, that idea may feel strange. You may think every connection must last for it to have value. But life often teaches us through temporary chapters. Some people teach you patience. Others teach you how strong your heart can be. And some teach you the importance of never abandoning yourself just to keep someone close. You are beginning to understand that lesson now. And even if it took pain to reach this moment, the wisdom growing inside you is something no one can take away. With this new awareness, you start looking at relationships differently. You become more attentive to how someone treats you when things are simple, not only when emotions are intense. Because true character reveals itself in everyday actions, in respect, in honesty, in consistency. You also begin to notice something about yourself. The more you respect your own heart, the less attracted you feel to people who bring confusion into your life. Your intuition becomes stronger. That quiet voice inside you becomes easier to hear. And when something feels wrong, you don't react just to keep someone around. Instead, you pause, you observe, you allow yourself to step back if necessary. This is not distance created by fear. It is distance created by self-respect. Your heart is learning that it deserves stability, not emotional storms. And the more you protect your peace, the more space you create for the kind of connection that can truly grow. Because real love does not appear in chaos. It grows where there is mutual care, patience, and I'm grateful that you stayed here and listened to this message until the end. Your time and attention are precious, and it means a lot that you allowed these words to reach your heart. If this message reached you, please confirm that you received it by writing this phrase in the comments. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. And if you feel that messages like this bring peace, strength, and clarity to your heart, join our community. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next messages that may arrive exactly when you need them most. Remember, sometimes the right message appears at the